Thank you for joining us today for the virtual Sunday service with the Center for Creative Living. CCL, a charter of the Universal Church of the Master, has served and supported the spiritual needs of its community here in the Bay Area for over 20 years. Now, with a special welcome, the head pastor of the Center for Creative Living, Reverend Doti Boon.
Good morning. Welcome. This is the Reverend Dottie Boon, and I'm so glad to see you up and out and running around on such a beautiful Sunday morning. You know, many of you who have tuned in don't realize that this is a spiritualist church, along with being a fantastic multi-faith church. We believe that each one of you is a child of God. But we also feel that we can communicate with those people who have gone on, who have lived another life. And also that you might have a guardian angel or a guide that talks to you. I know I do. I have a spirit guide, and his name is Mahalalel. I call him Ma. He started talking to me when I was 5 years old, and Mahalalel was quite a mouthful. Well, Ma and I have had this relationship for so many years. And what he does is he helps me give readings to people when they either call me or come into my office. And lately, I've been doing readings where people are so scared. They're absolutely petrified by the fact that they might get COVID-19. And what Ma says is that your worry, your stress, your frustration lowers your immune system more than anything else you could do. In other words, when you start worrying about what might be happening, you lower your ability to protect yourself. Now, you wouldn't go out without a mask. But don't go out with worry, stress, frustration, anger at other people and what they're doing, because your immune system takes such a hit. So for this beautiful morning, I want you to think of positive, loving ways that you can improve your feelings toward this virus, your feelings toward the neighbors, your feelings toward your loved ones, your feelings toward your situation you may be in, and bring them up to love and appreciation. I know you can do it. And now we're going to be getting a wonderful prayer from our Reverend Dan Corbin. You have a beautiful day.
Good morning. I am Reverend Dan Corbin, Associate Pastor for the Center for Creative Living. It's so nice to be here with you this morning and to bring you the opening prayer. I hope that you are all doing well and that you are getting a chance to enjoy a bit of sunshine, even if that is only sitting out on your porch. You know, we had some rain last week and it was so cleansing. I love the sound of the rain, and I also love the sound of the wind, as it is blowing away the clouds and bringing us blue, clear skies. These last few weeks have been kind of a challenge for me, dealing with my own dark shadows and finding my way back to love and light. I am grateful to be feeling a bit lighter these days. And oftentimes, when I'm preparing to meditate, I find myself thinking of our wonderful Virginia Essene, who would constantly remind us that we are the light of the world. Whenever I think of her, I smile and know she is watching over all of us. So close your eyes and take a nice deep breath in, breathing in that love and light. Hold on to it for a moment, and then breathe out, releasing anything that is not serving you at this time. Breathe in one more time, and breathe out. And this time, take all of your worries and set them aside. You can let them go, as Creator will know what to do to help dissipate them for you. Universal love and light, Mother, Father, God, Creator, ye of many names, thank you for being with us this morning and at all times. Thank you for surrounding us with your loving light and for keeping us whole. We begin this day in the knowledge that although we are all unique, we are part of the oneness. Thank you for reminding us that we are all connected and we each have gifts to share and how we each light up the world. When we connect with you, nothing can harm us, and we awaken to the real love that you are and we are. Thank you for all those that are putting others before themselves, our first responders, nurses, doctors, veterinarians, grocery clerks, hospital staff, and all essential workers. Please know that we hold them all in love and esteem and pray for their safety at all times. Thank you for allowing us to heal in spirit, mind, and body during this time of stay at home, and also for our Mother Earth as she goes through a healing. Thank you for technology to keep us all connected. And thank you for our speaker today as he brings us an amazing message of healing. As we start our day with a smile and love in our hearts, we give our love to you. Namaste, blessed be, amen. Thank you, and so it is.
Hello, I'm Michael Imler, and I am a member of the CCL congregation. You might see my guitar behind me. Many of you know me. I often do the morning meditation with Janet Childs playing guitar, and I am a local Silicon Valley person. I live in Campbell. I'm a coach and hypnotherapist and energy healer, and I also have some classes that I teach. I've written a book called Living a Sacred Life, and I have an online course that teaches you the principles of specific types of meditations to engage you in contacting your higher self, spirit guides, or superconscious. I have been asked today to present, and I'm going to talk on the topic of healing our filters of perception. And I'm going to be reading a lot because I'm doing this online today. So I ask that you turn your email off, set your phone to stun, really engage in what we're going to work on today, because I'm going to help you to look at, process, and de-wound ourselves from the filters of perception that stand in the way of our God-realized self. And there's going to be some exercises that are going to be necessary to be able to engage in. So you want to follow along with what I'm saying. And when I'm talking about a God-realized self, if the word God doesn't work for you, it could be goddess, it could be creation, it could be the universe. I actually call it the CFU, or the creative force of the universe. It is whatever initiated the spark of life within you. And I want you to really pay attention to connecting with that, whatever is right for you. Now, the wounds are the conditioning and the beliefs that accompany them that have accumulated in our energy fields since we were born, and possibly even before we were conceived. We're going to take a journey into the energy of appreciation as a vehicle of transformation, and then utilize that energy to transmute the energy of doubt, fear, unworthiness, and other emotional states into freedom and expansion. Now, these filters, these conditions, they're what I would say are the masks that we wear to adapt to our environment. And when I say environment, I'm talking about our home life, our work life, even the market that we go to, the bank where we go. And there are choices that we make or don't make to maintain a status quo with that environment. And they're the beliefs that we have about the world and ourselves that have formed into ways of being. Dr. Joe Dispenza describes it like this: a mood becomes an attitude becomes a belief, and a belief becomes a way of being. So what you're experiencing right now is an experience of different thoughts and emotions is creating a mood that you might describe as the way that you feel right now. Now, that way of feeling is coming from the thoughts that you're thinking. Now, they say that Thoughts are electric and get sent out into the world around us. And feelings are magnetic and what you draw back to the feelings that reflect your thoughts. Now, if you experience these feelings for long enough, you start to form an attitude around them. Now, this attitude becomes what others perceive of you. They might say, yeah, Sally has a chip on her shoulder, or Johnny is an angry man. Your attitude is not only recognizable to others, but to yourself. You begin to shape your world around these attitudes as you begin to draw to your experience that reinforce this attitude. Then the attitude forms a basis by which you perceive the world. So Sally's chip on her shoulder, or whatever grudge she's holding and she's unwilling to let go of, starts to shape the belief that she has about the world. She says, I knew that men were untrustworthy. She's now reinforced the belief by drawing to her untrustworthy men. And it gives her the opportunity to believe that because she met one untrustworthy man, and then the belief that all men are that way. So her belief now becomes her way of being. She now is an untrusting woman with a chip on her shoulder, and she'll choose events and interactions in her life that as a strategy to avoid all men at all costs, to the extent that she has no mate, and her way of being is now being alone. Now, if we look at Johnny, he's been in a mood because he didn't get the job that he wanted, and he's moaning about not being hired even though he met all the qualifications that he listed for the job. Now his mood is angry and resentful and becomes an attitude if he doesn't get a job soon. So let's say that Johnny doesn't get the job that he wants and has to take a job he considers being overqualified for. His anger at this begins to make him less attractive to other possibilities, and he draws to himself more rejections until he believes that the world is against him. There's some force that doesn't want him to succeed. So this belief becomes a way of being in which he's trapped in a career that he doesn't like and doesn't want. So he's filled with a life that's unfair as a way of being. Now, these filters or conditions most often are constructed when we're children. We bring them into our adult life because we don't have the reasoning power as children to consciously decide what beliefs to keep or discard. In some instance, the filters began long before us with our parents and grandparents. There's a lot of evidence and studies with mice in the lab that show that our traumas are transferred down to us through our genes from our parents and grandparents. So their traumas carry into our lives and even show up unexpectedly in our lives, reflecting the age at which their original trauma showed up in their life. Their behaviors, beliefs, and perceptions become the filters by which we experience the world. Now imagine that our essential nature, that is what I consider to be love and joy and appreciation, this is what we're actually made out of, to be in the image of God or image of the creative force of the universe. We're pure love, the creative force of the universe. That's what we truly are. So it's these filters that inhibit us experiencing our essential nature all the time. We become amnesiacs over and over, lifetime after lifetime, forgetting who we actually are. And the purpose of life is simply to remember. So what does it take to remember? An act of great love and courage, as one of my teachers would say. We need to confront, to examine, to hold accountable any and all of our filters and the beliefs and ideologies that created and perpetuated them. And before we address the filters themselves, let's settle into the energy needed to dispel and deconstruct them. Namely, the energy of appreciation. Again, quoting Joe Dispenza, because he's so cool, appreciation is the ultimate act of receivership. It means that what you're appreciative for has already happened. This is the energy that you can cultivate, and we're going to do that right now. So, I want you to settle in, make your body comfortable, and we're going to what I call love actualize. So close your eyes. And I want you to consider, if you have a home that you can go to that has a roof and walls that keeps the elements out so you can feel comfortable, Take a nice deep breath, let out a sigh of relief and say, thank you to creation. You can do this out loud or in your own mind. Thank you. And if you have some food in the refrigerator or cupboard that you can eat so you won't go hungry, take a nice deep breath and let out a sigh of relief and say, thank you to creation for that. Thank you. And if you have a bed that you can lay down in with covers to keep you warm, and you'll be able to sleep tonight without concern for it being hard or wet like the ground, take a nice deep breath and let out a sigh of relief and say, thank you to creation for that. Thank you. I actually do this every morning because I really love my bed and my pillows. Yeah, if you love your pillows, say thank you to creation for having pillows. Just notice if you feel a little bit lighter, a little more at peace now. Let's keep going. If you have clothes that you can choose to put on that fit you, keep your body temperature comfortable, and maybe even enhance your sense of personality, take a nice deep breath and let out a sigh of relief and say thank you to creation for that. Thank you. Now, if you have the phone number of someone that you can call that knows who you are and would be happy to have a nice conversation with you, take a nice deep breath and let out a sigh of relief and say thank you to creation for that. Thank you. Now, if you have hot running water in the place where you're living so that you can wash and bathe, take a nice deep breath and let out a sigh of relief and say thank you to creation for that. Thank you. I personally love my shower. I love hot water. I know a lot of people are into doing the whole cold water thing, like taking a really cold, brisk shower to waken themselves up, and that's awesome. I love hot showers. Now, this is one of my favorites, actually, and I think it's something that a lot of people take for granted. If you have a flushable toilet, take a nice deep breath and let out a sigh of relief and say thank you to creation for that. Thank you. Now, if you have a pair of shoes to protect your feet when you go outside, take a nice deep breath and let out a sigh of relief and say thank you to creation for that. Thank you. Now, I actually really do love to go barefoot. If you have legs and feet that work, even if they might be a little haggard from years of usage, think of all the places that they've taken you. Take in a nice deep breath and say thank you to creation for those. Oh, thank you. Now, notice how you're feeling right now. A little lighter? A little more connected to the source of creation? I hope so. Now, you've been love actualized. This is the energy that transforms. This is the energy that makes a new person. This is our essential nature. Really tap into this. Make a choice right now that this is something you'll remember. You might even consider how you would store it in your body mind right now. I often tell people when I'm doing hypnotherapy, put your thumb and index finger together right now. Make this circuit. Connect in with this feeling right now. Tell your subconscious mind that when you put your thumb and index finger together, just like this, you are establishing the circuitry, the memory that you're tapping into your essential nature. This abundance of appreciation, the being in the having right now. Now, while this energy is active, start to breathe in and upward from the base of the spine. You can keep your eyes closed or keep them open, it doesn't matter. Breathing upward from the base of the spine to the base of the skull. So from the top of the spine to the bottom of the spine, this entire circuit, okay? Talking about the entire spine. I want you to breathe from the base of the spine, the coccyx, all the way up to the top of the spine, at the atlas, where it connects with the skull. And you might even see a light traveling up the spine, moving from the coccyx all the way up to the atlas. Just breathing in, pulling up from the base of the spine, this energy, this light. All the way up to the top of the spine, and then letting go. And do that a couple times. Get used to breathing up. Up from the base of the spine. And then what I want you to try is breathing in through the mouth with the lips parted. And then as you breathe in, you use the word hum, like hum. And then you finish inhaling through the nose as you breathe in, breathing up from the base of the spine to the top of the spine. Letting go. And as you exhale, I want you to say, "Sa," and completely let go, a big sigh of relief. So, breathing up from the base of the spine, releasing, and let there be a little pause before you exhale. See if you can allow the energy of your body to rise up from the base of the spine into the head. You might feel a little lightheaded. Just take your time with it. Don't overdo it. But I want you to feel and experience the energy moving up through the body. Inhaling from the base of the spine. The appreciative life force of energy is light. And then releasing. Hold and do this 3 times. Hold. Release. And one more time. Hold. And release. Okay. That's going to be our process. Now, let's talk about the filters. Now, I've picked some pretty heavy filters, and you may or may not have them to the degree that I'll explain them, and that's okay. There are going to be subsets of these. But I want you to listen to the filters as I mention them. See if something in you goes, that one, pick that one. Okay, just check in with your higher self. Check in with your body. See if you notice while I'm talking about these filters, if one goes, ooh, or if you feel a little twinge in your body, or you have a memory that comes in. You remember back to sometime when you were a child, or somebody recently. Just allow it to happen. Clear the mind, open your receptivity. Notice what's happening in the body, and see if you notice a twitch, or heaviness, or an ache, and a stirring of some sort. Remember the situation. Notice where in the body you might be holding the memory of that. And there may be more than one. You're going to be like a detective, a curious detective, analyzing the body and seeing if there's old energy trapped there. And if there is, it may be enough to just send this beautiful, essential nature energy of appreciation to it, to break it apart. And if not, we're going to go through an exercise and we're going to take care of it. So just watch and observe, sense what happens in your body, and then memorize what you are detecting and what it may represent in your life. Now, the filters are both thought, electric, and feeling, magnetic based. So the most obvious opportunities for healing are in the following categories. We'll start with doubt. Doubt is kind of funny because whether you can or whether you can't do something really doesn't matter. But we believe that it does. Now, these aren't ridiculous things like if you're a 3-year-old, you're going to be a professional basketball player. We're talking about realistic things here. But the thing that I want you to notice is it doesn't really matter whether you believe you can or can't, because wherever you put your belief, wherever you put your attention and energy, you will prove to yourself to be true. So whether you believe you can or can't, you're right. We are neurally wired to reinforce perceiving what we believe to be true. That means that we use the neurons in our body to remember what we believe. And what we believe dictates our reality. Another one is procrastination. May simply be a stuck program where an endeavor failed. So often, not everybody's like this, but procrastination, sometimes people procrastinate simply because somewhere lodged in the subconscious, in our old memories that haven't risen to the surface, there is the memory of stepping out to achieve something and quote-unquote failing. Now, there's no such thing as failing, really. There's only feedback. But if you don't take the feedback and try to improve upon what didn't work out so well last time, you may have believed that you failed. And failing has a belief system and an emotional trigger associated with it. So procrastination, the inability to start something, might be old memories stuck in the subconscious with the emotion of failure attached to them. Okay? Now let's talk about fear. Staying small so as not to be seen, criticized, or appear false. So sometimes we choose to hide so that people won't point a finger at us and say that you did wrong, or you were not so good at that, or you should have been better, or why didn't you try harder? These might be things that people have said to you when you were a child. Needing to accuse others to avoid scrutiny. So when, yeah, you ever heard this expression? When you point a finger at someone, there's 3 pointing back at you. So some people do this unconsciously or consciously so that people won't look at them. It also has a lot to do with a victim-like persona or a superiority complex. So often we believe that we're a victim to something without recognizing that sometimes there are old scripts running in our heads that have perpetuated the victim-like mentality to bring a perpetrator to us. You ever heard that expression that even negative attention is attention? So some people actually do that. They will draw negative attention to themselves just so that they get some attention. There's also the act of a superiority complex. Sometimes because we have so much fear to some inadequacy within ourselves that's lodged in the subconscious, that we are afraid of looking at it. And so we will do everything that we can to prove ourselves capable. That's where the idea of the Napoleon complex comes from. Napoleon being so small that to rise above being considered small and weak, he became overly strong, overly directed toward conquering others. Another of our filters is unworthiness, the belief that you can earn your value as opposed to having intrinsic value. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't earn value, but believing that you have to earn value because you as a human being have no intrinsic value of your own. Does a human being have value? I would say that God created you, or the creative force of the universe created you in just the perfect way because it knew that you had a mission to accomplish, and there was no one exactly like you to accomplish the mission that it was asking of you so that it could experience itself. It has to move through your hands, through your eyes, through your voice. So you do have intrinsic value, but sometimes we believe that we have to earn this. We believe that it comes from outside of us, that somebody has to approve of us, that somebody has to validate us. And this puts the dependency upon other people to help us find our value. Well, there's a problem with that because maybe somebody doesn't have the ability to recognize the value in you because they can't recognize the value in themselves. So if you've given your energy over in that way, you might perpetuate an endless feeling of unworthiness. Another is not being good enough, often caused by shame. So shame would be that there's something intrinsically or fundamentally wrong with you. And so if you believe that there's something fundamentally wrong with you, it'll be impossible to ever be good enough. And that feeling of unworthiness perpetuates itself. Another is distortion. So the filter of distortion, misperception of the world based on hand-me-down programs. So I think a few that fall into this are bigotry and misogyny and other forms of delusion about our value as human beings, or because we come from a particular bloodline, or we have a particular skin color, or because we're athletic and muscular, or because we're tall, or the distortion of reality, which is that we're all created with the same functionality. We all have a heart that beats, and a digestive system that works, and a brain that operates the ability to send signals to and from the body. We all bleed, and we're all going to die someday. And so these hand-me-down programs are the beliefs that came from our parents that we did not have the capacity to question when we were children, and they just got worked into our brain's neurology as fact when it may not actually be true. Another would be seeing the self as anything other than a miracle of creation. So, they talk about the environment of the earth itself, the atmosphere that we have, is a 1 in a quadrillion possibility. So we are a miracle. The planet itself is a miracle, that we could be hurtling through space in the Milky Way, our galaxy, and we have just the right distance from our sun and just the right atmosphere, this interesting atmosphere that we live in that actually stops the bombardment of heat and radiation from the sun. This is a miracle. Another would be conflicting ideas that culminate in static mental processes that can't resolve themselves. So this is a type of distortion that we have multiple ideas occurring simultaneously, and the more information that we take on eventually becomes too difficult to weed through all of the concepts and all of the ideas. They become like a static charge. That idea of white noise on a television where you're in between channels. Our brains can get like this too and can't resolve themselves. We have just too much information and we can't distill it. Another is a lack of coherence between the brain, mind, and body. So, there are these 3 major networks of neurons in the body: the brain, the heart, and the digestive system. And those are all interconnected through the vagus nerve. And if we don't have continuity or coherence between those 3 systems, if they're not communicating with each other, what actually gets blocked is our intuition and instinct. Another distortion would be holding others responsible for your reality. That's a tendency to point fingers at somebody and say that they're responsible for the way that you feel, or holding somebody else's decisions as the decisions that have controlled your life, instead of taking ownership for your own life. Another distortion would be the judgment of good and evil. Once you label something as good and bad, it's hard to see the spark of creation in everything, which everything that exists has value, or else it wouldn't exist. So the judgment of good and bad, it's all relative to our belief systems. Another would be comparison. Now, this propels judgment even further, that things are good and bad, which further puts a divide between all things. So you have the separation of ourselves from others. The distortion of comparison in this context is the belief that we are an isolated self, and what we do, say, think doesn't affect the world around us, which in truth, in science, quantum theory, they talk about the butterfly flapping its wings on the other side of the planet affecting the weather patterns on this side of the planet. The truth is that we're a web of life, and everything is interconnected. It can't not be that way. The other is needing to be different. This is a further isolation from others, and often born of insecurity. You feel the sense of needing to be different so much because you feel that to be like others might not give you a sense of identity. But what it actually does is it further isolates yourself from others, because then others can't relate to you. Another is needing to be right, which is like believing that there's a wrong. So if every person seeks the evidence that supports what they believe, they'll always find what they're looking for, perpetuating a loop of cause and effect. We are wired in a very particular way, and what we see in the world is what we know. What we don't know, we don't see. It's not very often that we observe something or have a realization about something in the world that is totally unique. And if we do have that moment, we actually need to stop and process it. It's really important, because it means that you've been able to notice something that didn't previously exist in your box of awareness. And that means that your box is attempting to expand. It's attempting to get a little bit bigger. So it's important to notice the need to be right. Another is separation. So that's anything that perpetuates separation. So that's me versus you, us versus them. We need to recognize that being human is a group effort. We work together, and when we do so, we actually achieve things. When we try to do things in isolation, it takes 3 times as longer to accomplish something if you accomplish it at all. The last one we're going to talk about is obsession. So this is fixed ideas that control themselves, or control our motivations. For instance, if you choose a particular political party, you get pulled into a particular perspective that then defines and perpetuates your actions. Now, it's not necessarily bad or good to have a political affiliation, but to catch yourself noticing when you are doing things the same way repeatedly, or when you've actually given your doingness over to others, letting them decide what is right and wrong simply because you've identified with this fixed idea. So you want to catch yourself when you so wholeheartedly agree with something, because it might be an area in which you're noticing that you're actually stuck in a fixed way of thinking about something. Another is desires, or patterns of thought that hijack our perception. Desires are often the belief, the subconscious belief, that there's not enough. So when we desire something, it's the belief that we don't have it. And the thing about that way of thinking about things is that if you do this long enough, you develop a pattern of believing that you don't have enough. And then you become on an endless seeker for what you don't have. The problem with constantly seeking is if you're always a seeker, you're never a finder. So something to pay attention to. Another is reinforced neural wiring. And this is what I was just kind of talking about, which is you do something over and over, it gets harder and harder to ever do it in a different way, because your box of belief doesn't have any room for new information, because you've done everything over and over and believe it so wholeheartedly that your box becomes fixed and it can't be resized. And when it's like that, it becomes harder and harder to see things in a new way. So the more that you do something over and over as habit, can fix you without the opportunity to grow beyond the boundaries of what it is that you're trying to accomplish. Sometimes it's good. I mean, sometimes you want to have a good exercise pattern, an eating pattern, so that you can keep your body healthy. But when it comes down to always seeing somebody in your household with a particular mannerism, or seeing them as always doing things the exact same way, it doesn't actually give them the opportunity to grow. And it causes you to develop emotional behavior because you see them as never being able to change. And then you step into a way of being that perpetuates having the same emotional reaction to the same person. And that fixation can be obsessive. The last one I want to talk about is lack. And this is the itch for something more, even when what you have is enough. So a little bit different than desire. The idea that you don't have something creates this itch that you need more and more and more. And when you actually have everything that you need, it's the idea of, the person needing a Corvette or needing a bigger house or needing fancier clothes, when actually what they have is actually just fine. So that filter, again, it's what gets in the way of you just recognizing that you are complete and whole the way that you are. You were designed in perfection. So now I want you to notice whether you noticed something. As I was talking about all of those things, did one of them speak to you? Did one of them have something to say? Did one of them react in your body in some way? Did one of them have a voice? Did one of them create a twitch or an ache? What did you notice? Now what we're going to do is we're going to start to dissolve those things, okay? So I want you to start with the appreciation energy. Remember, put your thumb and index finger together again. Create that circuit. Let's go back to the energy of appreciation. Remember the home that you have, the hot water, the clothes, the shoes, the friends. What are you appreciative for? Let's start to breathe through the body. Go through the filters. Identify with them while you're breathing in through the body, from the base of the spine to the top of the spine. Start moving energy, moving from the base of the spine up to the top of the spine. Start breathing light in through the spine, having that energy and that light rise up from the tailbone all the way up to the atlas. Now what we're going to do is, I want you to start to do the hum-sa breath with me. And let's just move up to the belly first. Just breathe up from the coccyx to the area just below the diaphragm. Slow, nice, easy breath. Breathing that light up. Keep track of those filters that you noticed. And start to breathe from the tailbone all the way up into the heart center. Let that light rise up. And then relax. Slow, nice breath, full breath. You might get a little lightheaded, but stay with the energy. Bring up that light, draw up that energy from the tailbone up into the heart. Keep track of those filters that you saw. Notice where in the body that they reside. Keep breathing in that light and energy. And then we're going to breathe it up to the top of the spine, to the atlas, the area where the spine meets the skull. Breathing that light up. And then we're letting go and relaxing. Breathing the light and the energy up from the tailbone all the way up to the atlas. Now keep breathing the hum-sa breath, okay? I'm going to give you an instruction. Keep breathing. What I'm going to invite you to do is locate the location, the body, the place where that filter, that energy, where you need to let go of, dispel old belief system that might be held in that area. I'm going to invite you to, as you're breathing in, when you're ready to do this, keep breathing the breath right now, but when you're ready, one of those breaths is going to be the one where you're going to draw the energy from the location where that filter is stored. You're going to breathe it right into the atlas, the top of the spine, just at that same moment that you're inhaling from the tailbone, breathing that light and energy up from the tailbone up to the atlas. You're also going to draw the energy out from that place where it's been hiding. You're going to pull it into the atlas, into the top of the spine. And when you do that, I'm going to invite you to hold your breath, hold it, and then allow it to disperse the energy of that filter or belief system that you've been holding. Watch it like a sparkle of lights, like a sparkler you would light at the 4th of July, and just allow it to disperse into the ethers. Let go of it. Let it go out into the field of energy that surrounds your body and reorganize itself into the field that surrounds your body, and then let go with the sa. And I invite you to do this as many times as is necessary until you've drawn all the energy from that location where it's been hiding out. Pull all of the energy out of that location into the top of the spine, right behind the base of the skull, and hold the breath there. Hold it there. Allow it to break apart the energy of that belief system, of that filter, dispersing it out into a million fragments, and then let go of the sa breath. Do that as many times as necessary, and you can do this as many times as is necessary to break apart as many filters as you can do in this session. So hold it, pull the energy from that location where it's been hiding out, and then break it apart. And let go, relax. Do this a few more times. Hold, break it apart. Allow it to explode, and then release. One more time. Pull all the energy out of that location. Break it apart. Allow it to explode. Let's do it one more time. This will be the final time. One last breath in. Hold it. Pull the energy from those hiding places. Allow that belief system to explode into a million fragments, dispersing out into the energy that surrounds the body, allowing it to reorganize and releasing. And relax the energy of the body. Relax. I invite you to open up the top of your head and draw in, ask for the creative force of the universe to come now in through your body, a healing light. Might be a silver shimmering light or a golden light or a white light. Call it into the body. And it might even be like dripping honey into the body. Let it go to those places where those old belief systems, those old filters once resided. Fill those areas with that light. They say that nature abhors a void, so you don't want to just leave it open for anything to come in. You want to direct a healing, a beautiful healing light of creation into those areas, filling those spaces up with the light of creation. Now, I don't know where you were pulling energy from. It could be from the hips, or the abdomen, or the heart, the shoulders, the neck, the back. Fill those spaces. Fill them with that beautiful light energy of creation. Allow yourself to be the person that you dream of being now. Connected, loving, joyful, appreciative. Allow yourself to feel those golden qualities of light and love, compassion. Allow yourself to feel the energy of confidence and certainty that you are a child of creation, perfect in every way. Seeing yourself in the person that you believe yourself to be when everything is coming from your heart, loving yourself and others. What are you able to achieve? Beautiful. Now again, put your thumb and index finger together if it's not already. Memorize this moment in the body and in the mind. Memorize this with this circuit created with the index finger and thumb. You put these two together, this is who you become. This is who you are. Anytime you feel yourself moving off center, return back to this place. Allow your intuition and instinct to awaken with the knowing that everything is just perfect the way that it is. No judgment. Just seeing, acknowledging the beauty and the mystery in life. Now I want to thank you for being who you are. Thank you for allowing me to serve you today. And when you get off this call, this video, call somebody you love and tell them how much you appreciate them. Spread the love. And if you want to find me online, my coaching, healing, hypnotherapy practice can be found at bluebearhealing.com. And my book, Living a Sacred Life, can be found on Amazon, and my website, where you can learn very specific meditation practices to help you engage with the superconscious, to contact your spirit guides and higher self. coupled with some philosophies out of Buddhism and science. That's all can be found at livingasacredlife.com. And I want to thank Corky and Dottie for inviting me to be with you today. And don't forget to support the church as everyone is there going through hard times with having enough money come in to make their rent. And so give them some assistance. They'll appreciate it. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Awaken to the shadow behind you. His whisper is the reason why we can choose the path before us. We can open up our eyes. Oh yeah, we can live or die. The doorway is before you. The doorway opens wide. The doorway reaches into our hearts. We can shelter deep inside. Oh yeah, we can shelter deep inside. The corona of our lives, dreams on the edge of night, reminds us of the sweetest truth. We are each other's light. Oh yeah, we are each other's light. The doorway is before you. The doorway opens wide. The doorway reaches into our hearts. We can shelter deep inside. Oh, we can shelter deep inside. Circle into center. Gently open the door. We are this universal hope. We hesitate no more. No more. The doorway is before you. The doorway opens wide. The doorway reaches into our hearts. We can shelter deep inside. Oh yeah, we can shelter deep inside. Circle into center and gently open up the door. We are this universal hope. We hesitate no more. The doorway is before you. Doorway opens wide. The doorway reaches into your hearts. inside. We can shelter deep inside. Ooh. Awaken to the shadow behind you, and we invite you to just be in this moment right now, to know that there are doorways around every corner. There are choices we make. There are moments that we can claim. And so I invite you to settle in to wherever you are, to gently close your eyes and imagine that you are in a beautiful room. There is a doorway that is leading out to the path you were destined to be on. And so just let yourself gently approach that door. Notice the shape, the colors, and the beauty of that door. It may be old and gnarled wood. It may be made of pearl and silver. Whatever that doorway is represents you, your unique soul, your unique presence on the earth. So anticipate the universal hope that is waiting for you, the morning that shines through that door, and gently open up the knob. Feel your hand moving to open the door. And you breathe in the scent of fresh air. And you know you are beginning on your path. And it is your path. No one else can do it in the same way. And as you are on the threshold of your life, just allow your step to move forward. And keep that picture of what you see, what you hear, what aromas are around you, what you taste, what you feel. This is your path, nobody else's. And just thank your beautiful heart for showing you this possibility. The doorway is before you. The doorway opens wide. The doorway reaches into our hearts. We can shelter deep inside. Oh yeah, we can shelter deep inside. The corona of our lives, dreams on the edge of night, reminds us of the sweetest truth. We are each other's light. Ooh, we are each other's light. Ooh. The doorway is before you. It is always here, my friends. The doorway opens wide. The doorway reaches into our hearts. You are ever there. The doorway is a place of shelter where we can be. Shelter deep inside. Shelter where we can be. Shelter deep inside. We are each other's light.
Thank you for joining us for this celebration of faith and fellowship. We'll be back next Sunday. And for those of you, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can leave them in the comments section. If you appreciate this video and the work that the Center for Creative Living is doing, please press like on the video. You can share the video, and also please subscribe, because that will help this community and the church grow. Remember, in these difficult and challenging times, the opportunity to give and support an organization that has done so much for the community is tremendously important. Please help the Center for Creative Living continue in the wonderful work that it does. We will make it through this. We will be stronger for it. Our faith will carry us. Be blessed, be safe, and have a wonderful week.